Hey, I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton
And we want to welcome you to the Investor Tribe podcast. So cool things, we go live every Wednesday, 1 p.m., right? So just as a quick reminder, we go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Please tune in. Let's go.
All right. We're fortunate enough to have Miss Dana Spencer here today, coach extraordinaire. She's going to tell us about what she does, how she helps people. And welcome to the podcast. Milton did the introductions there, but Dana, tell us a little about yourself and what you do for a living and how you help people.
Well, I definitely believe that everybody should invest in real estate. I was in corporate America for over 20 years, and one year in particular, the company that I was working for, they were offering a buyout. And I thought to myself, when I turn 55, I want to be in the position to retire like other people have. So I reached out to my mortgage company and got the payoff. It was going to be in 2027. I would be 55 in 2025. And I was thinking, whatever they give me should be able to cover the difference. But then I met a lady that said retirement is a number, not an age. And so that just began the journey of wanting enough passive income in order to pay for my monthly expenses so that I can retire on my own terms instead of someone else's. And so then, since I had that knowledge, then I wanted to teach other people the same thing, other women who potentially have their 401k and they're putting money into that. And it's growing, but how about diversifying your retirement portfolio with some real estate? So I just want to educate women on how to do that, as well as educate athletes on how to use their name, image, and likeness money in order to start investing in real estate. Because how many more documentaries do we have to hear where athletes have made $300 million and then once they retire, they're filing bankruptcy or they're broke? And the Lord, I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about another athlete, and I was like, why didn't somebody teach him how to invest in real estate? And that's when the Lord nudged me like, well, you could. So just really wanting to educate anyone who will listen on the benefits of investing in real estate.
And they're numerous. There's so many benefits. And my hat's off to you, because not a whole lot of people know that you can use IRA money once you retire or separate from service. You can take that 401k money, roll it to an IRA, and you could buy real estate with it. The growth is tax-free or tax-deferred, depending on what's traditional or Roth. It's a great way to diversify. It's a great way to get a little more control, because in the stock market, generally it goes up over time, but you don't have any control. You're putting in and praying it goes up, and a lot of times it does over time. It generally does, but there'll be some down years too. Versus in real estate, if you know what you're doing and you got a good coach and you've got some experience, you can find off-market deals and underpriced homes and fix them up and rent them out and get much higher returns, many times what you can get in the stock market. You do that a few times, you're talking real money. You're talking ways to get out of the rat race and build up that passive income. And so you said you work with women a lot and now athletes. God nudged you and said, they need help. You're the woman to do it. I guess you want to share some success stories or maybe plan of action for anybody that's listening that needs a little help, a little guidance on why real estate.
Right, because everybody is going to always need someplace to live, always. And we see even in our community, the fact that, affordable housing is hard to come by, as well as just real estate in general. And everybody loves a success story, a transformation. Looking at a house that was boarded up and vacant and nobody was using it, nobody's paying taxes. Well, they still paying taxes, but they could be paying more in taxes. But being able to see that transformation, to take that house and to renovate it, and now it's just amazing. Someplace that somebody really wants to live. I just love that type of success story. And then just being able to help athletes to understand, you're making money now. Let's take that money and buy some property. And I'm working with people now. We haven't found any deals yet, but like you said, deals are hard to come by. So finding the right price and the renovation so that all of it makes sense.
I love that. And so my question would be, what inspired you to become, you went from Dana Spencer for a long time, and then now it's Coach Dana Spencer. So what inspired you to get into coaching?
I'm the type of person that when I know something, I want to share. When I bought my first property, well, my second property, where I paid $30,000 for it, $30,901 to be exact, and we put $82,000 in it. And 2 years ago, it was worth $145,000. And I'm like, everybody needs to know how to do this. Everybody needs to understand. So that's when I wrote my book, A Beginner's Guide to Financial Freedom Through Real Estate, which starts off talking about mindset. Before we even get to real estate, we have to talk about the mindset and the limiting beliefs that we have and the fears and overcome those. And then I start talking about the relationships you need to build in order to achieve renovation of a property. Because we all know, if you don't have a relationship with a contractor, nobody's calling you back. You can go through, well, old school yellow pages, you can go through whatever, but if you don't have a relationship with contractors, they're not calling you back. And then just the squad of people you have to have around you, because we all know we can talk about real estate all day long, but if you talk to the wrong person who's going to give you their negative beliefs about real estate, they're going to put those negative beliefs onto you, and then it's going to stop you from doing what the Lord wanted you to do. So it's so important, the mindset, relationship, squad, and then I just walk you through the process. So I think people understanding the process, that is what's going to help them to actually take the plunge and get started into real estate. And then definitely hanging with the right people, create organizations where all we do is talk about real estate, and we love talking about real estate.
Just like the Investor Tribe too. So
yes.
invtribe.com. It's, you want to associate with those that are successful, and then have a positive mindset. And, once you have some basic knowledge, it gives you some confidence to go pull the trigger and get that first deal, get the second deal. And once you get one or two, it becomes a little easier. It's like with athletes, you practice, unless you're Allen Iverson. We're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about practice. So, but just
not a game. But
you're practicing. You're honing your skills. You're getting better. You're learning. You're running your numbers. You're building those relationships with contractors, and then you go out. It's game time. You got to pull the trigger now. Now it's time to perform. You're gonna fix this property up, make it a rental. You're gonna fix the property up and flip it, or just buy it and collect the cash flow. But you need to manage the property. You know what you're doing, and then you're coaching them on how to do these things.
And there's so many direct correlations between being an athlete and real estate. So, for example, being a team player, understanding you can't do it by yourself. Real estate, you have to have a team in order to achieve success. So there's so many direct correlations between real estate and athletes, and helping them to understand that they are very, very disciplined. You got to have discipline. When you're looking at those numbers, you got to know, hey, this house is not the right one for me because I'm not going to be able to get it at the right number. So the discipline to walk away. So there's so many skill sets that are what I call transferable skill sets, so that if you have these initial skill sets, I can show you how they will correlate with real estate, and then we can just, kill game.
Awesome. And so I want to, what makes you different than, say, there's a lot of different influencers in the culture. There's a lot of different people that are out here that just to say, hey, I want to, help you get rich quick. What would set you apart from that?
Definitely. I believe in behavioral preferences. And there are 4 key behavioral preferences. There are solving problems, which is like a pilot. And then there's the air traffic controller that's very analytical, may potentially fall into analysis paralysis. And then there's the grounds crew, a person that's very supportive, and they put other people's needs in front of their own. So they potentially are going to let you have the deal instead of them having the deal. And then lastly is what I'm going to call the flight attendants. Those are the people who influence people. And in terms of understanding that, you can see how that's going to show up in real estate. How do you respond when life happens, or when those pressures come, or when your house gets broken into for the 3rd or 4th time and you want to run? Typically, there's a response of either you want to fight or you want to fight somebody. Either you want to run and take flight, or you want to fight. Well, we can't do that. So I personally coach people. I have an assessment that people can do. And then based off that assessment, because I understand how those behavioral preferences relate to real estate, I'm able to really help you to understand, hey, when things get tough, this is what you're normally doing, but however, coaching them through that process. Being a real estate investor, being a coach, being a real estate agent, it's more than you investing in a house. It's about me helping you in your own personal behaviors and your preferences to not only buy real estate, but how this is going to help you in your professional and your personal life. So that's what makes me different. It's not just buying a house. It's so much more.
Love it. And sometimes just more than buying a house, some emotions are involved. Do you have any success stories about someone you've helped either, get into the home or get the first investment property? How was that rewarding? How'd that feel? What type of stories you have on that front?
Yeah. So I was working with a couple and they thought they wanted a basement. And so it's helping people to realize, okay, well, why do you want a basement? And asking them the right question. This is so important because asking the right questions gets you to the answers. Think about when you go to the doctor. They ask you a series of questions in order to get to the solution. Same thing with real estate. We're asking the right questions to see, okay, so do you really want a basement or you really just want another room that you can play your games in? So if we can achieve that, would you be willing to have a room that's on the first floor? So understanding what your client really wants and able to really get them the house of their dreams. And it didn't even have to have a basement. So working with them, asking the right questions, and then getting them to a house that is their dream house without having to feel like you have to have a starter home. Their first home was an amazing home that they're going to live in for 30 plus years because I asked the right questions to get them to the right solutions so that they can have the best house of their dreams. We are not preparing for the future. What's going to happen to our kids? We can't always depend on dad. We can't always depend on other people. We've been the sole breadwinners. So if we are not planning for retirement, who's going to plan for us? So that's one of the main reasons why I encourage women, especially because we're so busy. We're taking care of the kids. We're taking care of everybody else but ourselves. And if something happens to us and we don't have a retirement plan, then who's going to take care of the children and mom if I'm taking care of mom and whoever else? So that's why it's so important, especially for women, to get with me so that I can help you to establish a plan for your future, because you don't work too hard. It's not about working harder, but it's about working smarter. What was that book? Think and Grow Rich. Think. It's about using our minds and not necessarily working more hours or taking on another physical job where you have to be away from the kids even more. Let's get some passive income coming in so that you can do what you love instead of some job that you hate. I was just recently at an event where this lady was talking about how just the job that I used to work with. And I just sat there and was like, thank you, Lord, that I got out. So if getting out is what you want to do as well, I can help you with that. That's not for everybody, but it might be for some people.
And I was giving it some thought. You used that airplane analogy earlier, with the pilot and the grounds crew and the flight attendants. The analogy I used a lot when I was a financial planner was I had a lot of people that were like, I need to take care of this and do that and worry about this person, that person. It's like sometimes if you're on a plane and it's going down, there's turbulence. What do they tell you to do when the masks drop down? Put the mask on yourself. Take care of yourself, so you can help the others. You can take care of the family, but you do often have to put that mask on and take care of yourself first. But and I know you said women. Said 49% of women say stress has increased over the last 5 years. Do you think a lot of that's them not putting that mask on first and pass it to others, or what are your thoughts on that stat? It's a stat you threw out there. I thought, gosh, why has the stress gone up so much the last 5 years?
Well, not only that, is everything is going up. The price of everything is going up, and rents are going up 5, 10, 15%. But what's not going up at that same pace? Well, your income. Statistics say that ordinarily you might get a 2 to 3% raise. That's if you're doing really, really well. And you might not even get a raise. So if I'm the sole breadwinner and rent is going up 10%, food's going up, everything is going up, and my income didn't. That's stressful. Like, that's one of the biggest stresses in our lives. And robbing Peter to pay Paul and not having the money at the end of the month to pay for everything. And then let's talk about if you have teenagers and events and hair and nails and all of these things that come with all of that.
And athletes are on the teams and going to practices.
It's stressful.
Yes.
Like that, the weight of all of that. Cell phones for your children. I mean, all of these expenses that are not helping your income situation. So that's why we're stressed out about everything. And we're looking at social media and we're seeing what everybody else is doing. And she just got back from Hawaii and he just got a new car. And we're looking at, and that's all we're seeing constantly. It's too much stress for us. And so we have to acknowledge the fact that it is stressful. And then we have to add some safeguards for our lives. Maybe you need, if being on social media is a stressor for you, then maybe you should get off of it or take breaks from it, because that is adding to your stress level.
Maybe they take that time and talk to you, go buy some real estate, get some passive income to cover those bills and reduce that stress. So that is that one of the suggestions you'd have as far as ways to reduce stress or encourage somebody to be more financially, free?
Right, because that's one of the number one reasons that stress is from your income. And a lot of people don't even realize the multiple ways of earning money. I was just reading just this morning in terms of how to pay your creditors. Chances are you may have a skill set or something that you do well that you don't even realize that you can make money from. For example, I make my own granola because I have a nut allergy. It's hard to find granola that doesn't have nuts in it. So should I potentially manufacture my granola? Maybe, but maybe you're good at PowerPoint presentations, or maybe you're good at, maybe you clean really well, maybe you organize. I mean, maybe you decorate Christmas trees very well. There's so many things that as women we can do that we could potentially monetize that we have just completely overlooked. I know a lady that she makes really good lemonade. And so now she has a lemonade business, and you're just like, or maybe you make a really good pound cake. There's no pound cake stores. Like, there are so many things that people can do, and us as ladies especially, that we could potentially monetize, and we're just completely overlooking them.
There is so many ways to hustle. There is so many ways, and it's almost like there is no excuse to be, I'm not going to say behind. I'm not going to say broke. There's just many ways for you to monetize your skill set. And so is that what you talk about with your clients, is how to monetize varying skill sets so that they can increase their wealth and grow through real estate?
Right, because one of the number one things that I hear, and I cringe every time I hear this, is my credit's bad. Okay, what are we doing in order to help with our credit? So we have all of these expenses. And so if we did get a side hustle, then let's use the money from the side hustle to pay off some of those negative inquiries on our credit and work towards improving those. I recently did an interview with a credit counselor, and he said, based off of having bad credit, we are losing anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million over our lifespan because of the bad credit.
In interest rates?
In interest rates, in overpaying, and not getting the job because they checked your credit. I mean, it's tied to so much more. So let's work on our credit. I will have workshops on a regular basis to help us to work on our credit, because that is the number one thing that I hear. And I don't know if you're catching this, but I'm a problem solver. Don't come to me with an issue.
Come on.
If you're talking to me and you're talking to me for more than 5 or 10 minutes, I've stopped listening and I'm already starting to solve your problem in my mind. So if you don't want solutions, I'm not the person to come to. But if you want solutions and you want to get to generational wealth and you want passive income, then I'm your person. But if you want to just complain and just talk about, how bad your situation is, I'm not the one.
But Dana, let's talk about this one elephant that's in the room.
Okay, let's talk about it.
All right. So now, what is on my mind, you put out another statistic that I think speaks to what you're just the problem that you're trying to solve, is that 85% of people are disengaged on their job. There's this. So there's one thing. It's like, okay, you got a job, and yet you want this side hustle, and yet you want all these other things going on. So how coach me through that? So I'm disengaged from. I'm one of the 85% of individuals that's disengaged from his job. Coach to that. Like, how do you navigate all that? Because a side hustle may not help that.
So here's the thing. The assessment that I was talking about, that will help me to show you where your strengths are so that you can get a job that you really do enjoy as opposed to hating it, because that's 8-10 hours of your day. And just think about how much more stressful that is and how that's weighing you down the majority of your day doing something that you dislike. So how about if we look at the fact that you're a good decision maker, that's that pilot, you're a good decision maker, you're solving problems quickly, then maybe you should be in a supervisor role and you don't mind confrontation. The other side of that is if I don't like confrontation and I'm in a supervisor role where I have to confront people on their behavior, confront people on the fact that your attendance is bad or whatever that is, that's even more stressful because I don't like confrontation. So understanding your behavioral preferences will help us to get you into the role that is catering to your strength instead of pressing on your weaknesses.
Because 50% of people don't even like their job.
Can you imagine that? The majority of your day spent doing something that you completely don't even like. And you don't even do it well.
And
So if you don't like it, you're not doing it well.
it doesn't make much sense because there's so many ways you could change jobs. You can do the side hustle. You can start a business. You can monetize in so many different ways, especially nowadays with technology the way it is. But I guess sometimes it's people have been stuck in a rut or they don't want to veer off the path that they're on. But many times that's what they need. They need a kick. They need a lift, a hand to pull them out of the rut that they're in. What analogies would you use, for people that need that kick somewhere on their body, in the butt, somewhere else, just to get going? Are you there?
Right. You need something.
So two things came to mind. One is the fact that when you're driving, you can't see your own blind spots. And sometimes you need someone else who can come along and help you to see your blind spots. The other analogy I was thinking about was a coach. Sometimes you have coaches that won't call a timeout, and I'm the one in the stand like, call a timeout. You need to talk to these people, call a timeout. You don't have anything to offer your players. Well, as a coach on the sidelines, you have a different perspective. If you're in the game, you're on the court, you don't necessarily see what you're doing wrong. But that coach on the sidelines, he has a different perspective so that he can call a timeout and say, you know what? You're not inbounding the ball. You're not dribbling. You're not passing the ball. You're not looking up court. Whatever it is, you have to have a coach or somebody who is a third set of eyes for you to see into your situation and help. Because if you're in the trenches, you probably don't even realize it. You're in a rut and you don't know how to get out of the rut. If you could get out of the rut yourself, you would have gotten out of the rut. But since you can't, you need to hire a coach or somebody else who can put that second set of eyeballs on your situation and help you out of it.
Do you have an example of someone you've helped and what their success is now?
I was having a conversation with this one lady. I mean, I have conversations with people all the time, right? And so in terms of they can't see that they're in a rut, or they can't see the fact that the situation that they're in is no way out. And so you're having conversations with them to help them to see that maybe starting a business is what they need to do, or just helping them to understand the skill sets that they have, the hustle that's in them. When you have that conversation with them, then they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. And so as far as so you're challenging me to go back to the people who I've had conversations with and say, hey, that business that you said that you were going to start, did you start it? Because here's the other thing. Since people don't want to pay for coaching, you have an initial conversation with them and then they don't want to take that next step. Because in order to pay attention, typically you have to pay.
Come on. Say that one more time for the people in the back.
For the people in the back, in order to pay attention, you have to pay. The free game, and I'm sure you've talked to hundreds of people in investing who acted like they wanted to invest, and you gave them all this free game, and you probably never even saw them at another meeting. But have a coaching program where you have to pay and now you're invested in it, that's when you're going to start seeing the results.
Oh, but I don't want to pay money.
But then you don't want results.
We may need to have her when we roll that out.
That's it.
She's doing the
That's
commercial.
it.
She's gonna
That's it.
she's gonna light the fire. She's gonna get people to come on.
That's it. That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. It's 150% true. And when you're talking about paying attention and getting results, and that's where accountability comes from, right? It's the accountability, being able to hold people accountable to their own goals.
Because here's the crazy thing. I'll let myself down before I let somebody else down. Because if the goal is for me to make more money and I'm putting everybody else's needs before my own, then I'll help you out and I'll help you out. And then there's not enough time. Now I'm tired. So sometimes we have to learn to put ourselves first in order to make sure that we are getting to where we need to be in terms of goals. I'll be honest, years ago, I was not a goal setter. But the thing that goals do for you, it helps you to see where you're trying to get to, and then you can create a plan, a strategy in order to get there. Without goals, you're looking at this year like, what did I do? What did I accomplish? Did I set out to do what I was supposed to do? Well, what was I supposed to do? We have to have some goals in order to make sure that we're getting to where we need to be. Because even with podcasts, you're interviewing all these people and all these different strategies. This person has 7-car garages that they're renting out garages, and this person is doing short-term rental, and this person is doing mid-term rental, and you're hearing all these stories. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try mid-term rental. Oh, I'm going to flip houses. Oh, I'm going to hold. Like, it's so many things and so much information that comes at us that we're just not going to do anything. That's why we need coaches to help us through the process, because if not, we just get all this information, and we've got all this information with no action.
And one of my mentors said, told me years ago, he said, a confused mind always says no, or a confused mind takes no action. So people are bombarded and overwhelmed with information. And so we're here, you're here to help kind of sort through that, see what applies to them, see what information they need or that's beneficial for them to take the steps and take the action, and not just sit there in an inactive state, in an overwhelmed state. Help them become educated so they're not confused. They can make the smart decisions. But whenever I'm, dealing with business or if I'm trying to buy a house, the mentor was talking to me about, if you're trying to buy somebody's house and you get too many options, you have too many choices, so you're going through too much. You'd be doing too much because you're trying to find them solutions. You're trying to solve the problem, but now they're overwhelmed with 7 different choices and 3 different variations of these choices. He says, we give them an A and B and a C. Right. They pick the one that works, and they say, I like part of B, I like part of C. We'll say, shoot, we'll combine them. We'll make it work for you. And just so you're, they're not overwhelmed, and you're making it simple, and they're not confused. And then we see with business, and everybody's happy. Everybody, progresses and wins. And
clarity is everything. Because even when I was starting my own podcast, I had all this different information and all these different ideas, and I'm like, what's the podcast going to be about? I had my equipment for like a year before I even started it. And then I had a conversation with someone who said, well, what has real estate helped you do? And I said, well, it's helped me to solve problems. It's helped me to build relationships. It's helped me to walk into my God-given purpose. I'm like, that's it. I'll have a podcast where we talk about solving problems, building relationships, quitting corporate, and the freedom to walk in your God-given purpose. Let's go.
That's a good place.
Once you have clarity, you can just go. So different people in your life help you to have clarity. But the problem is that a lot of times we're talking to all these different people and then we're doing nothing instead of getting one coach and following their plan for us and accomplishing what we need to accomplish.
We've accomplished quite a bit today. And on that note, we probably need to wrap up.
Yeah, I totally love it. If you need one podcast, if you're listening to one, this is the one. This is the one. When you're thinking about one podcast to rule them all. No, but one podcast to actually help your life. It's this one with Coach Dana Spencer. We want to thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And it was absolutely amazing. And so you can find us in several different ways, right?
INVtribe.com, of course. We're on Instagram at INVtribe, Facebook, YouTube, and X, maybe on some more platforms here in the near future. And we're live every Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Yes. Follow and subscribe on your platform of choice. And I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we'll catch you on the flip side of the Investor Tribe.
Thanks.
The Investor Tribe podcast is a production of the Investor Tribe. To learn more, visit invtribe.com.